is our guest, Ken?
Okay, rock star. Marie Newman is a former congresswoman, nonprofit CEO, marketing executive, author of A Life Made from Scratch, and When Your Child is Being Bullied, Real Solutions. She's an anti-bullying activist, former Moms Demand Action spokesperson, and national LGBTQ plus advocate. In addition to those roles, she's a mom of two. Marie Newman is known for building movements and solving the toughest problems. Marie's next book, which we will be talking to her about, her memoir, will be released April of 2025. You can pre-order starting in February, which means now. A Life Made from Scratch. Her motto has always been, when you do not see the solution you desperately need, make it from scratch. My friend, former Congresswoman Marie Newman.
Welcome, Marie.
Thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing?
I am groovy like a movie.
Oh, I'm going to start I'm stealing that from you right away. Well, I think Elliot had a text that he wanted to read for you.
Hi, Marie. We announced in the last hour that you were going to be on with us, and then the text line blew up. So I just want to say here, boom, I'm going to put this in here. You're having my former representative on as your guest. I fought hard for her along with a lot of other people. I hope you talk about how Marie Newman got screwed by the Democrats. Apparently there's that sense out there among the electorate that the Democratic Party wasn't fair to you. And I'm going to tell you, that is something that we've talked about here on the show in the past. I'd like to hear your perspective.
Well, oh my gosh, well that is we didn't even warm up at all.
I wish you were here right now. You should see the look that I'm getting. I'm like, wait a minute, sir.
You said read the text.
I didn't know that was the text. I didn't know that was the text.
See, this is why we need to prep more.
I thought you guys were going to buy me a drink first, for God's sake.
The drink comes after.
Martini's on me next time, Marie, I promise. My God.
Apologies for that, but hey, let's hit the ground running. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's kind of an easy answer to that. In life, not everything is fair. In politics, it's not fair. In love, it's not fair. Not everything is perfectly fair. It is hard to even assess whether redistricting was fair or not, right? It's very hard to assess because we don't have a transparent process. And so my only criticism is that we need a process where there is defined leadership, a defined process, and a list of who does what, where, when, and how. At the heart of it, I am, a management consultant, and having sloppiness and lack of transparency and not understanding who's in charge and not having a defined step-by-step process, which many states do, not all, but many states do. So let's just do better that way. It doesn't matter if I won or lost. It really, everybody landed in a good spot. So I would say let's just have a better process, guys.
Great answer. Great answer.
I'm going to sit back right now because I guess I'm a little...
I've already given him the death stare.
Yeah, this is like me on a first date. I get a little too aggressive, and I'm like, hey, you want to meet my mom?
It's like, you stay in the corner. So, Marie, I want to talk to you about your book.
Sure.
What inspired you to say, okay, I want to share my life with the world?
Yeah, it was. By the way, I have good news. It comes out March 18th, not in April. But my publisher moved up my publisher moved up my release date because there were folks that were it's a complicated market, but the wholesalers and the booksellers were asking for it, so they moved it up to. So it's actually available March 18th, and you can order now.
And that is a great problem to have.
Yeah, no, it was good. I just wasn't really ready for it, and I was like, oh gosh, okay, here we go. So as I was leaving Congress, a few publishers came to me and said, hey, you have a really interesting story. Would you like to tell your story? And I thought, I don't know that. I don't know if that's a book I would want to read. And so I was kind of not super interested in doing it. Then as I talked to my team, my family and friends are like, no, absolutely. You've had unique experiences that nobody else has had. And I don't know about that, but I think that it is a series of relatable experiences. I have I had an improbable journey to Congress, and lots of building of movements from scratch. I mean, the premise of it is that it's a series of stories of where I've built something from scratch, because it's happened many times. And the reason I had to build it from scratch is it just didn't exist, right? So my motto has always been, when the solution you desperately need in the world is not available, guess what? You got to make it from scratch.
I love that way of looking at life. Can you, because I will be reading the book, by the way, but can you tell us, of course, can you tell us the hardest thing in your life that you've had to build from scratch?
I think each one has been hard in its own way. I mean, there's three or four that stood out. So when, 14, 15 years ago, my oldest was being bullied severely to the point of, therapy and hospitalization and a bunch of things. And it was a big, gnarly mess. And I frequently call the big gnarly messes the big sticky ball nobody wants to touch in the room. So everybody's at the party and they see the big sticky ball and it's like, gross, nobody wants to touch it. Well, guess what? Usually it's Marie that goes to touch it and picks it up and figures it out.
Gross.
So yeah, I'm like, no one else is going to do it. I guess it's me. I'm not even qualified, but let me do it. I think that happened when my son was being bullied. I then wrote a manual about how for schools and parents and communities to manage through these problems, right? Mm-hmm. And so from there, I was asked by Sears Holding Company to develop a national nonprofit. I did that, went to Obama's executive summit on it, helped pass an EO on it, a bunch of things, right? And similarly, when my daughter was transitioning from male to female, she's a trans woman now and doing well, that was a really big deal. I had to learn everything, right? I didn't know anything about being a mother of a trans child, right? So I had to actually take a break from work and then learn that. And I had already been an LGBTQ advocate, but I knew exactly, by the time Evie came out, I think I knew exactly 2 trans people in my whole life, right? So, I did not know anything. And that's really what it's about, is that it's, the mother of invention is just necessity every damn time,
Right.
So those have been and then when people started to ask me to run for Congress, because I had been an activist for the last 25 years, I was like, oh gosh, that seems hard. And,
yeah.
But again, nobody else in Illinois 3 wanted to, touch the sticky ball. So
right. And it was a sticky ball, by the way. It was very sticky.
Yeah, it was. So everything is hard in its own way. What I hope the takeaway from the book is that everybody can do everything. We all can do hard things. And sometimes there's no manual, and you have to build it from scratch.
Marie, I have a text question from you. This one's a lighter-hearted one. Okay, it's not as aggressive as the last one was. I apologize again for the first one. Sometimes I know my people skills sometimes need work. Hi, so happy you have Marie Newman on. I canvassed for her back in 2018. She's one of the truly rare folks in politics, genuinely cares about public service.
Yes.
What support mechanisms has she found to aid her in her work for public advocacy? There are a lot of us helping others independently and staying far away from political parties.
Ooh, that's a good question.
So the question is, what support mechanisms have you found to aid in your work for public advocacy?
Because I've always just kind of built things from scratch, I think we're in that process right now. So to that question, I'm using a bunch of things. So I'm working with activist groups of a wide variety in D.C. right now. There's a coalition that's been built and been talking about how to rebuild the party that has really gone astray, right? It is we have to be honest with ourselves. I think that there's nothing but opportunity here, and we have good, solid days ahead. But we are a bit of a hot mess right now. Let's just all be honest about that.
Yes, thank you for saying it. Yes.
And so what I've been doing is I've been working with a lot of the indivisible groups. I've probably done 7 or 8, 9 of these now here and in D.C., where I've talked about we have to rethink how we're thinking about voters. Voters don't give a darn about party anymore. About 50 to 60% of the population or the voting population is what we used to call independent, and now I call them context voters, because folks in this election voted based on what they saw in front of them and what was their context. So many people had the context of, hey, I want things to be more simple again. I want, immigration is making me nervous, and the economy is in the toilet right now. That was at least their reality. Were those things all necessarily true? No, but that was their reality. So we have to understand how context voters actually think and work. And we have to stop putting everybody in these buckets. There are let's look at the electorate right now. So in the exit polling, Gallup and Pew showed that of all Trump voters, only 22% were actually Republicans that either leaned that way or what if the rest were context voters and some Democrats, right? So in the overall electorate, only about 30% say that they affiliate, lean towards, or are a Democrat, and a similar amount for Republicans. So what that tells me, if we take the squish out of the two 30%, we're looking at 40 to probably 60% of the current electorate is non-affiliated, right? And they vote based on their context. So we have to stop thinking about people as Democrats and Republicans and independents and think about what the issues are. So the big chore that the Democrats have in front of them is understanding people's context and their everyday. And they're just not. I'm sorry. And God bless them. There's a lot of hardworking, amazing, talented, lovely humans in Congress. But no one is leading the charge on that. I hope Ken Martin does. I see him out knocking doors in rural areas. That's a good start.
That is a great start.
The number one thing, and I can't stress this enough, is the number one thing that Trump voters said when they decided to vote for Trump versus VP Harris is they said, you know what, nobody ever asked me. And that really stuck with me in all those focus groups. I was like, oh, my God. And it's true. We told them what they should be thinking, but we didn't ask them. And so we got to rebuild and ask.
Marie, can you hang with us until the next break, this next break, and then we'll take you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's going to be real quick, and then we'll finish. We'll take you to the bottom of the hour. This is Marie Newman, who was a former congressional representative and running for...
She's an author.
You're an author? Oh, an author. Wrote a book.
Yes.
Getting published sooner than we thought.
Yes.
And knows how to deal with overly aggressive questions fairly well. I got it.
She's a rock star.
Got my vote right there. All right. We'll be back after this break. This is Elliot Serrano and Ken Mejia Beal on Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez on WCPT 820.
We're driving it home on the Patty Vasquez Show with special guest hosts Elliot Serrano and Ken Mejia Beal. We've got special guest Marie Newman on the line, who's been talking about her involvement in politics as well as the book that she's written.
Yes.
And I'm just going to sit back a bit because I tend to be a little too aggressive in my questioning.
Oh, stop. you stop it.
You're fine. You're fine. It made me laugh more than anything else.
I appreciate that.
I think I'm going to have to send you the actual clip of me looking at him as he asked that question.
It was a look. Again, if you're
like, what are you doing?
Which is why, if you're watching on the Facebook page or on the YouTube page, there's a whole level to this show that you're getting to see.
I can't hide my face.
That you're not getting just listening over the air. And again, thank you, Marie, for being such a good sport about all this.
No worries.
I appreciate that.
And so now the book, A Life Made from Scratch. So a little bit about politics, I have a question for you. As you watched the last cycle, because you and I politically, we align. I totally agreed with everything you just said about how we can, fix the party. Did you find that Democrats were not speaking to folks that we should be speaking to? Because the way you during the last segment, you mentioned that a lot of folks weren't even asked. Did you see that a lot happening? Because I know I did.
Yeah, I think that everybody, now I keep hearing some party leaders are like, oh, we got to tack to the right, we got to tack to the center, we got to do this. It's like, no, stop. Everybody stop. Go talk to people in all 50 states and understand what their context basket is, because you clearly do not understand. Now, I will say, and I want to be clear, VP Harris did an amazing job. Her
Absolutely.
team did an amazing job.
Yes.
The party did an amazing job. All of the volunteers, we should not blame anyone or feel badly about anything, but we should know that we found out that these folks did not feel like we asked them what they wanted and that we told them what they wanted, and nobody likes that. So it's as simple as get out to all 50 states and start talking to people, because you got to reinvent. And when you reinvent, you got to hear what people want.
No, I like that. So when you ran your first race, you ran against an incumbent who wasn't real. I'm being very politically correct because I'm on air. Wasn't doing very much for the community at all. Was kind of letting us all down. You came in, and you didn't let us down. When you look back on folks that are in office that are constantly letting us down, what advice would you give someone that's sitting at home, driving in their car right now, thinking, I think I could do a better job, but I don't know what to do?
This is part of the talk that I've been giving to the indivisible groups and some of the other activist groups in the coalitions, is we are at our best when public sentiment is behind our politicians, right? So by us becoming very aggressive and very loud and very strategic, it helps our representatives and senators have more courage, and courage is contagious. And then secondly, it makes them stronger because they have public sentiment behind them. So we still are a part of this equation. We have to really make noise and really make it clear we will not, our red line is you will not cut Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. Red line. Stop hurting our veterans. Stop hurting our elderly. Stop hurting our disabled. Like all of those things, right? We got to get really clear on all that. So the second part of my talk is beyond the activism is run. It's as simple. I can't say it any louder. Please run. We are due as part of this reinvention and innovation in the party. Not only does everybody have to learn what the electorate wants and who they really are, but we need new folks. Of course, there's some great incumbents and they should stay and
Absolutely.
right?
Right.
But a lot of folks need to go night-night. I'm just here to tell you.
I agree.
Yeah, it is time for night-night for a bunch of folks. And so I have candidates call me every week, but I do give them the eye-opener, right? These are the things, and that's partly why I wrote the book, too, is that understand what you are going to be up against. I am still encouraging you to run, but I was naive about how brutal it can be, right? And so I share with folks that, look, it's it was the best job I've ever had. I really enjoyed the community work, solving problems, and building legislation. I didn't really enjoy the politics a whole big bunch, I will tell you.
And that makes sense.
So I tell people, run, because this is the time to run. We are in a kind of a great opportunistic period where folks can run in all parts of government. And I don't like the word levels because each part of government is just as important. If you are a library trustee, it's just as important as being a city council member or a member of Congress. You are delivering public service to people, and you should feel amazing about that. So I say run in every part of government. I have, by the way, I built some how-to manuals for a couple of groups in D.C., and they're on my website, which is Marie Newman Studio. So if you're planning a social movement or you're planning a political campaign, go ahead, take a peek on there, and I hope those are helpful. It's at marienewmanstudio.com. My book's on there and all the other stuff, but those manuals are on there if you need help.
And before I let you go, thank you so much for joining. I know you have a book signing coming up in Lombard. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, and I've got a bunch of them. So,
sorry, I just saw the Lombard. I'm a bad stalker. I apologize.
So
I can help you with that.
Thank you.
The first one, my launch event is March 18th at Barbara's Bookstore in Yorktown Mall in Lombard.
Okay.
But then I have another, I think, 10 events in the Chicago area, and then I'm going to Seattle, Portland, D.C., Phoenix, and a couple of other spots. So it'll be fun. I keep telling my husband, I said, it's okay if my book doesn't do well, but I get to see all these people I haven't seen in so long. I'm so excited.
Well, I look forward to seeing you on the 18th. I will be there. That's why I have it written down.
Oh, yay!
Yeah, so I'm coming. Yay. Thank you so much for joining us today, Marie.
Well, it was a delight. And, yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome.